The crunch period is the most intense part of any project. It's where the deadline is fast approaching and you must rush to finish everything. It's the time when you regret not doing things sooner. It's a time of pain and suffering. But it's also the most constructive and exhilarating part of any project, and I secretly love it. With the layout finalised, I use the crunch period to clip the entire level. I don't trust CSGO players. They're a crafty bunch, so I make sure that even if they do glitch out and go flying through the air, the map is ready for it and that it won't break the match. There are invisible walls around all of the areas, effectively turning places into rooms. I used the player clip for this so that you're still able to throw grenades over buildings. I hate it when they bounce off invisible walls like in other maps. One area I haven't covered is music. When making a map, I have a playlist to remind me of the time I spent on the project. It's strange how particular tracks can remind you of detailing a corner or of some other very particular and vivid part of making the map. I remember what I was doing at that part of my life from the songs I listened to when mapping. I also find music an important part of transforming a map into a place that you enjoy working on, particularly if you're going to commit weeks or even months of your life to the project. Give it a go. For this map it was Seal's greatest hits. For Karenia it was the song I Could Be The One. Balfour was a Ministry of Sound compilation, and Elysium was Pet Shop Boys' Elysium album. Playing these songs remind me of those parts of my life better than any picture or diary entry could. I also used these last few hours to optimise. I did this by ensuring that there were hints all over the right places so that only the parts of the level you could see were rendered. I added area portals to the indoor areas. These aggressively limit what is rendered from outside of these rooms. And finally, I made props fade out at a distance. This is something I can't be bothered to do until the end, and then I really enjoy doing it, setting it so that it fades out just as you get far enough away not to see it anymore. I find I'm always a bit too aggressive with them, so if you know what you're looking for, you can find the fades, but I can justify it by saying that high FPS is more important than distant, superficial props. Obviously I'd rather have both. I applied Nodraw to the areas of the map that nobody could see, like this church roof here. It's a botched attempt, and I'm not quite sure why it doesn't line up properly. But it's not as if anybody will ever notice or rate this map down for it. Not unless they were in no clip and were deliberately trying to find mistakes to sound all high and mighty. Nodraw reduces the file size and I guess makes the frame rate higher, though the difference is likely minimal in this regard. About 6 hours before the deadline, I did the final compile of the map, the one that people would play. I then shared it with friends and loaded it up to test for mistakes myself. Oh look, within 5 seconds I found a misplaced texture or something I feel I could improve. This is surely a one-off. Let's just fix that and recompile. I'm sure there's nothing else wrong with this map. One compile later, I load the map again and, oh no, another small thing. I don't have time to run about the map looking for other bugs that probably don't exist. Let's fix this small thing and render the map again, a process that takes about a quarter of an hour. This continued until the deadline. It's stupid, and I know it's stupid. It's like it breaks my brain, where I know it would make more sense to find all of the problems in a 30-minute session and then to fix them in one go, and yet my brain insists that it will be faster just to assume that each problem is definitely the last. This is my biggest regret when making this map. I should have let everybody test the hell out of this map for several hours, making adjustments to the map as they're found, but waiting until the problems dry up before recompiling. Thing is, any adjustment can have knock-on consequences. You think that adding a decal to the wall is simple, but what if it then rubs off onto the floor? What if it makes people difficult to see in that corner? Every fix can spawn more problems, and it usually does. I wasted valuable crunch time with these small bugs. And then disaster struck. You know that beautiful ice texture that Vex made, that Welshie described as looking like poo?
Oh, it's black. Ooh, it looks like poo.
I attached the textures to the map, so I thought they would fix it for him. But no, the problem persisted. I then realised that anybody with low graphics details would have the same problem, and my heart sank. That beautiful ice texture suddenly had a nasty sting in the tail, and I didn't know what to do with it. There were just hours before the deadline. I desperately messaged her telling her the problem. She didn't know what to do about it. I had so much to do in those last few hours and this was just too much. Why hadn't I tested this map on lower detail sooner? Why? Why? I didn't have time to learn how the ice texture was made. I hastily loaded up a pre-made water texture and compared the file with the ice one, changing things until I got it working. It lost its beautiful refraction and looked bad in comparison to how it looked before, but at least it worked. I then had to update the radar and loading screen to reflect the latest changes to the level. By now I was shaking and there was less than an hour left on the clock. Then Vex got back to me with a fixed texture file. She had managed it. I added it to the level, made some final adjustments and compiled the level. I'd like to take a moment to thank Vex and Welshie for aiding me in those last few hours. Without them I would have failed, and it's so important to have people you can rely upon when it comes to the crunch time. I hate putting others under time constraints as a result of my own shortcomings, and for them to be so understanding and helpful really warms my heart. It's at times like this when you know who your best friends are. So, thank you. On the competition screen, I could see other entrants submitting theirs and felt somewhat jealous about not being in their shoes. What if my internet suddenly went down right now? What if my hard drive crashed? I was getting messages on Steam from people asking if I wanted to play CSGO and realised that I had other things to do before I wanted to go to bed that night. As soon as the map was compiled, I bundled it together, took sexy screenshots of it from all angles, sent it to some friends to test just to make sure there was nothing missing, and uploaded it to the competition site with just minutes to spare. This is definitely the last time I leave it to the last minute, I thought to myself, well aware that I said the same thing every time this happened. I then realised that I was talking about this as if it was a story, and decided to revert back to the original style for the next paragraph. And that's the crunch period for you. It's fast-paced, embarrassing, and thrilling beyond belief. I wish that I could spend my entire life in this mode, as I get about 20 times the amount of work done. After such a long developmental rush, there's suddenly silence as the map is released, and you're awaiting the first feedback on your map, which can often determine the map's future. But that's for next time. Here is some footage from the crunch time, where I take a breather to view the map with Welshie.
Did you change, like, I could see, like, blue clouds or something. Is that just me?
It's a strange feeling, taking one last look at the map I had spent so much time on before releasing it to the world.
This is the equivalent of the penis that used to be in the map, like a memorial service.
Another thing that didn't work well with low detail settings were the graves. Unfortunately, we didn't update them until after the initial release. But who would play a map on low details and then criticise it for low quality textures?
Ooh, the gravestones. I need to turn up my graphics. I can't see that. Did you just spew your blood all over it? Can I even read it now? I can't. It's still blurry as hell. I can't see. I can't hear anything.
I assumed at this point that he was just being super picky, and not that it was unreadable on low texture detail settings.
What's that supposed to be about?
We then turned our focus to a bit that I changed afterwards to make slightly less powerful. It was an interesting idea though, to have such a powerful spot that restricted your escape.
Where should I aim? I want to try and shoot here. It's hitting the wall behind you, which is weird.
Anyway, for the sake of this series, the map had now been released. The next video will be about what happens afterwards.